Good morning. My name is Dan, one of the pastors at TLC. This last weekend, we saw that Peter got the who of Jesus correct, but he didn't quite understand the way of Jesus. He could proclaim that Jesus was the Messiah, the Son of the living God, but he didn't understand what kind of Messiah Jesus indeed was. Have you ever had a nickname that maybe you didn't particularly like? Something that you got called perhaps in elementary school or junior high? My brother called me Fan Belt, and I was fine with that. I had other names as a kid, Baked Beans. Last name is Baker. Danny Boy, Dano, Dan'l, DB, Danny Pooh Bakerkins. And at Camp Hammer, Mountain Monkey, or various versions of that. Well, there was a woman in the book of Acts who, unlike Peter, understood the way of Jesus. She got it. She knew what the kingdom of God was all about. She had a name. Her name was Dorcas. That's right, Dorcas. It wasn't a nickname like you might think. It was her real name. Here's what Acts chapter 9 says about Dorcas. It says, in Joppa, the city where she lived, there was a disciple named Tabitha, which when translated is Dorcas, who was always doing good and helping the poor. She was a follower of Christ, doing the work of the Lord. So what did she do as a disciple? Well, she helped the poor. She was always doing good for the poor. One of the things we know she did particularly was to sew clothing for widows. Now, widows in that day were the most vulnerable group of people. Many times they were left alone with no resources at all. And we have a number of people here at TLC that are involved in a ministry called Dress-A-Girl. Amazing ministry that has blessed so many children all around the world, kind of taken up the call of Dorcas in amazing ways. And this is what Dorcas did. She understood the Jesus way. Well, the account tells us that she got sick and she died, and they laid her body in an upstairs room. Now, they would have normally buried her right away, but I don't think they were ready to accept the fact that she had died. Well, Peter, he was not far away. He was in another town, and he was summoned to the home of Dorcas, and he didn't hesitate making his way there. Like I said, she was well known. Peter had changed. When he arrived on the scene, the room must have really had a profound effect on him. It says in verse 39, he was taken upstairs to the room, and all the widows stood around him, crying and showing him the robes and other clothing that Dorcas had made while she was still with them. They were honoring this great woman that they loved so much. Well, God is about to do something incredible in this situation. A couple of years back, when Christ was still on earth, Peter witnessed Jesus raising a little girl from the dead, and he believed this was an occasion he was about to do the same thing. He got on his knees and he just prayed, and he said, Tabitha, Dorcas, get up. She opened her eyes. She saw Peter and she sat up. He took her outside and presented her to those who had gathered. And of course, they were all amazed. And many people believed in the Lord that day. As a result, that town was changed forever in a big way. But the change started before her resurrection. It started with those simple blessings when Dorcas reached out to the poor and the needy. She gave of herself. She got to watch God change her world. She understood the Jesus way. She understood this different kind of kingdom. So how is God calling us? How is God calling you today to reach out to those in need? I encourage you today to be a Dorcas. God will use you. God will change your world.